The dead deer trap. Have you ever stood where the earth itself rejects you? That primal dread, as if your soul is caught in an ancient gaze. In Idaho's cursed mountains, a father and his sons fell into a trap woven by death. What throws the dead to ensnare the living, shrieking from the void? Close your eyes and tread with me into the jaws of that forsaken ridge. The mountain exhaled a frigid mist, its pines clawing at a sky bruised with twilight. Puss! A rusted truck groaned up the switchbacks. The logging road littered with jagged rocks and splintered branches, as if the forest itself barred their path. Jacob, a father hardened by years of labor, gripped the wheel, his jaw set. His sons, Ethan 17, Caleb 15, and Noah 13, stumbled ahead clearing debris, their breaths visible in the chilling air. The valley below dissolved into sagebrush, but the mountain loomed its presence, a living weight watching judging threes. The air thrummed, not with sound, but with a pulse that burrowed into their bones, like the stare of a predator, older than time. Why does a forest feel like it breathes with malice? Ethan felt it first, a needle of unease piercing his spine. He glanced at Caleb, whose eyes darted to the trees, then at Noah, whose hands trembled as he pushed a branch aside. Anyone else feel like we're trespassing? Noah whispered, his voice small. Jacob, lost in the rhythm of the drive, ignored them, but the boys' steps faltered. The forest's gaze tightening. They reached a clearing, the truck halting with a shudder. Jacob's chainsaw roared, slicing through dead pines while the boys loaded wood, their movements mechanical. The shadows danced when no one watched. Ethan caught glimpses, flickers at the edge of vision gone when he turns. Caleb's shoulders hunched, his glances frequent. Noah hummed nervously, his voice swallowed by the trees. Twilight bled into the sky, the light thinning the air, growing dense, as if the mountain inhaled their courage. What drives a man to flee his own resolve? Jacob, usually unyielding, stopped abruptly. "Load up," he barked, voice tight, eyes scanning the trees. The truck, only half full, growled to life, the boys piling in their forced laughter. Brittle. Threes. Something was wrong, Brice. The descent was slow, the switchbacks treacherous. They joked, masking fear, when a blur, brown, fleeting, erupted from the slope. Jacob swore, slamming the brakes. The headlights carved a sickly yellow arc, revealing a deer crumpled in the dirt. What death moves with purpose? Ethan followed Jacob out, ignoring the order to stace. The deer was grotesque, its eyes hollow voids, its tongue a blackened slab spilling from a slack jaw. The stench hit like a fist, rot decay, a grave's breath. Maggots writhed in its fur, spilling from a torn belly. This wasn't fresh. It had been dead for weeks. How does a corpse leap? Ethan gagged the mountain's pulse, surging a scream in his veins. Jacob's face, lit by headlights, was a mask of terror. His gaze fixed down the slope, where darkness stirred. What hunts with no form, only intent? "Get in," Jacob rasped, voice breaking threes. Ethan scrambled back the door, slamming as a shriek tore through the pines. High metallic, not of this world. Branches shattered something massive, charging through. Jacob floored the gas, the truck lurching over the carcass. The boys' screams, drowned by the engine. The shrieking pursued, or did it? The forest blurred, giving way to desert. Silence crashed down on the county highway, heavy as guilt. What lingers in the bones of those who escape? At home, Jacob spoke, his voice low haunted. He'd felt the mountains stare all day, seen shadows darting between trunks. Human, yet not threesatos. The deer was thrown, he said, eyes distant yas. To stop us, was a trap baos. Ethan, Caleb, and Noah sat frozen, the truth sinking in chitwas. The mountain hadn't wanted them gone. It wanted them dead. They never returned. The road was sealed, reclaimed by roots, but the shrieks echo in their dreams, a call from a force that still hungers. Some mountains never forget their prey. The demon's forest. Have you ever felt a forest whisper your name? That chill when the world falls silent and something answers from the dark? In a Canadian wilderness, 2 children crossed into the demon's forest, where voices not their own replied, "What lures the innocent with the guise of life only to reveal death?" Step with me now into the cursed heart of those black pines. The dirt road carved a wound through the forest, splitting light from Shadow 3s. To the right, golden woods, shimmered leaves pirouetting in the autumn breeze, alive with warmth. To the left, a ditch yawned its depths, tangled with rusted car parts. Wheels, doors, a steering wheel, claimed by moss as if the forest hoarded relics of the lost 3s. Beyond the ditch, a steep hill rose crowned by pines with trunks black as coal, their branches clawing at a sky heavy with secrets. The air pressed against Sophie 12 and Alex 10. A warning stitched into the stillness, thick as fog. Why does one path sing of life and another of death? Sophie's steps were cautious, her skin prickling as they walked the road. Alex's chatter, a thin shield against the left-hand woods. They called it the Demon's Forest, a childish jest that carried too much truth. The trees seemed to lean closer, their shadows swallowing light. Sophie's heart thudded, urging retreat. But Alex, bold and oblivious, skipped ahead, his laughter echoing, then fading, as if the forest drank it. What draws the young to the edge of the void? The road climbed the Demon's Forest looming 3s. A pink ribbon, tied to a pine branch overhanging the ditch, caught Sophie's eye. It thrashed wildly, though the air was still. No wind, no breath, yet it danced. She reached out fingers, grazing the fabric cold as ice. 3s. "Alex, look," she whispered. But he was staring up the hill, eyes bright with curiosity. The ribbon's motion felt alive. A signal, a lure. 3s. Why did it feel like the forest watched her touch? They reached a clearing, a half circle carved into the hillside like a stage for an unseen audience. The forest waited at the top. 9 meters away, its darkness a wall against the fading sun. Alex froze, grinning. "I hear something," he said. "Wildcats, maybe kittens." Sophie's ears strained. Nothing but silence, heavy, expectant. Why did the air feel like it held its breath? Alex meowed, playful, his voice small against the pines. The forest answered. A meow sharp, immediate, chillingly human. What echoes a child's call with such precision? Alex laughed, meowing again. The forest replied, each call closer, clearer, as if stepping from the shadows. Sophie's stomach knotted. Feral cats didn't mimic like this. The meows were deliberate, timed no echo, but a response. Tsuyusa, as Alex lost in excitement, kept calling the forest, answering leaves rustling. Something moved. The sound was heavy. Not a cat's tread, but boots crunching dead leaves. Deliberate approaching, Sophie scanned the hillside. Open, treeless, yet nothing stirred. What hunts with sound but no form? The rustling multiplied from all directions, a chorus of steps. Alex beamed 3s. The kittens are coming! But the meows turned guttural wrong, like voices trapped in decay. A panting erupted at Sophie's feet. Loud, breathy, a massive beast's exhale. 3s. She looked down. Nothing. Threes. Her heart stopped. Threes. Spinning, she saw it. 100 meters away, a Rottweiler, mangy fur, patchy, staring from the road's crest. How could its breath touch her? The forest's calls grew louder, a cacophony of unseen things closing in. What lures the living to the dead's embrace? "Run!" Sophie screamed, seizing Alex's arm. They sprinted downhill, the forest's voices fading but clawing at their minds. They collapsed at the house, vowing never to return. Years later, Sophie learned the land was Mohawk, steeped in blood and loss. Its spirits restless. Some forests never release their hold. In dreams, the demon's forest calls its meows now, whispers beckoning her to the ditch where the dead wait. The riverbank ambush. Have you ever heard the night scream a warning? That moment when joy curdles and the dark unveils its claws? On a moonlit riverbank, 3 friends walked into a trap set by shadows. What hunts in human guise, plotting in the silence? Follow me now, into the terror of that cursed night. The river ran black, its surface a fractured mirror for the stars. 3 friends, Jake 19, Matt 20, and Ryan 17, lounged on the bank, their chairs sinking into damp mud. Pizza boxes littered the ground, beer cans glinted. A speaker pulsed with low beats. The levee rose behind a shadowed wall, cutting them off from the world. The air was thick, warm, scented with earth and rebellion. A fleeting freedom. Why does laughter echo so weakly in the dark? They cast their rods joking, the night cloaking them in a false embrace. 2 hours passed the clock, nearing 9, when headlights slashed the darkness. 2 cars roared over the levee music, deafening doors, slammings. Voices, harsh, rapid in Spanish, shattered the calm. Jake's hand tightened on his beer. Matt's eyes narrowed. Ian froze. The air turned sharp like a blade. What makes a stranger's shout feel like a threat? The noise escalated. Shouts, glass-shattering screams that clawed the soul. The friends packed movements, jerky eyes locked on the levee through. Something was wrong. A dull thud rang out, fists on flesh, followed by a splash near the boat ramp. A voice stark in English cut through. "Leave him!" Their hearts stopped. They scrambled up the levee, staying low, reaching their car in the pitch-black lot. Why does silence scream louder than pain? As their headlights flared, one stranger's car crept forward, then sped off. The friends sat breathless, the violence they'd overheard sinking in. Jake started the engine, cresting the levee only to freeze. 4 cars blocked the road, aligned like a wall. Orchards flanked them. No escape. Ryan, in the driver's seat, floored it toward a gaps. Horns blared as they shot through tires, screeching the blockade, scattering like predators denied. What hunts in packs, human yet not? They fled to a safe lot, sobering shaken threes. Jake called the police, filing a report, but no answers came. The splash, the screams, the blockade. They burned in their minds. Was it a mistake or a ritual? The riverbank, once their refuge, became a trap, its waters whispering of blood. Years later, Jake learned of vanishings along that river, tied to whispers of a cult. Some nights never release their secrets. The bush house shadow. Have you ever felt a sanctuary turn against you? That dread, when a child's haven grows eyes in the dark. In a London garden, 3 girls met a shadow that wasn't theirs. What lingers at the edge of innocence, watching from beyond? Come with me now, into the haunted heart of the bush house. The garden sprawled under a July sun, a tapestry of grass and wildflowers, bordered by the untamed heath. At its edge stood the bush house, a hollowed shrub fortified with wooden planks, a sanctuary for cousins, Elle and Lily, 7, and Grace, 11. built for Lily, a wheelchair user. It was their castle: beanbags, a faded rug, curtains sewn by Auntie J. By day, it rang with laughter. By night, it hid the older cousin's secrets. But that summer, something else claimed it. Why does a child's refuge feel watched? The air hung heavy that afternoon, the estate's hum. Cars, dogs, voices. Strangely silent. Elle and Lily sat at a table playing cards, their giggles soft as. Grace read in a corner her book, A Shield. The bush house smelled of earth and old wood, its shadows sharpening as the sun dipped us. The light felt fragile, as if it could break. What shatters the calm of a perfect day? A sound intruded, low, a growl, woven with a hoot, threaded with a muffled voice, human, yet not I. It came from the back, where the heath pressed against the foliage. Grace's book fell her eyes wide. The girls froze, hearts racing. The world held its breath. No birds sang, no insects stirred. The estate was a void, as if time had stopped, leaving only them and the sound. What moves unseen, yet feels so near? A rustle followed stealthy inches from Grace Thorjoy. She stifled a cry, pointing to the leaves. A shape, dark dog-like, yet translucent, flickered through the gaps. It was there yet, not as if cloaked by the heath's will. Lily gripped her wheelchair, Elle's cards tremblings. Why did the air scream danger? The shape lingered its presence, a weight testing their fear, as if it savored their terror. What do children see that the world ignores? Stay together, Grace whispered this. They moved Elle and Lily, pushing the wheelchair out, eyes locked on the shape threes. The heath loomed, its grasses swaying without wind threes. Safe near the house, they paused, breathless. Grace, bold, climbed the shed's rotting roof, peering over the hedgerow threes. What haunts a child's gaze? Her face paled threes. A man, she said, voice trembling threes. Long, scruffy hair, walking toward the fence. Threes. Duh. What leaves no trace yet scars the soul? The girls sat on the back step, silent, the estate's sounds returning. Life resuming as if nothing had happened. Older cousins searched the heath, finding nothing. The girls kept their fear from their grandmother, not speaking of it until years later. Some shadows don't need proof. The bush house, once a haven, became a place of dread. Its foliage hiding eyes that never blinked. Grace, now grown, swears. The heath still calls its voice a growl, beckoning her back, the intruder in the flat. Have you ever locked a door yet felt the dark slip through? That terror, when your home becomes a stranger's stage? In a basement flat, two girls faced an intruder who knew too much. What walks through walls armed with lies and shadows. Enter with me now, into the violated heart of that night. The flat was a fresh start, a basement refuge for Lucy and Emma, both 19, free from dorm's chaoses. Its windows hugged the ground, framing the street's pulse. Footsteps, headlights, the city's breath bores. That night, Emma and her boyfriend Alec sprawled in her room among Fu movies, flickering cigarette smoke, curling like ghosts. The scent of popcorn and laughter filled the air. Lucy tucked away in her room. The flat felt alive, but not alone. Why does safety crumble in the dark? A shadow passed the window. A man, heavy, pacing his glances. Sharp, deliberate threes. Emma's stomach twisted. Checking the locks. Just a drifter, she thought. But the pacing persisted. A rhythm of intent. 20 minutes passed, the unease thickening us. Lucy burst in, pale. He's inside. The word stopped Emma's heart. The door unlocked a fatal oversight. What breaches a home without force? Emma and Lucy crept into the hall. Alec frozen behind. The man loomed his bulk, swallowing the dim light, the same figure from the window. "What are you doing?" Emma demanded, voice shaking. He fumbled, showing a phone, a text with their address. Cryptic words about people inside threes. "Looking for my girlfriend," he said, eyes dodging hers. Why did his voice carry a lie? What masks a predator's in human skin? They ordered him out. He nodded, dialing, speaking low. Not to a woman, but a man. Urgent, angry. The air grew heavy, deceit clotting it. "Get out," Emma snapped through. He left, still on the phone, his voice rising outside. Alec confronted him. "Move," he said. The man claimed a taxi waited, but vanished down a dead-end street. No taxi in sight. The night swallowed him, but not his threat. What lingers when danger departs? The upstairs neighbors, Charlotte, Matt, Rob, revealed he'd tried their home, claiming a girlfriend's. Rob's knife had driven him off. For weeks he returned, peering into Emma's windows, testing the door. Each lock was a prayer unanswered. Emma learned of local vanishings, whispers of men luring women with false stories. Was he a hunter or something older? The flat, once a sanctuary, became a cage, its windows eyes for an unseen watcher. Emma and Lucy moved, but the man's shadow haunts their dreams, a reminder of a home no longer theirs. The haunted house of spirits. Can a house mourn its own dead? What if the walls whispered your grief back to you? In a Virginia home, a mother and daughter lived among spirits that touched the living. Does a spirit's caress mean love or hunger? Walk with me now, into the heart of a house that never sleeps. The old Virginia house creaked under the weight of its century, its wooden bones steeped in loss. Sarah, 40, and her daughter Emily, 18, moved in after Sarah's husband died. His passing a wound still raw. The house, lent by a friend whose mother had also died within its walls, was a refuge, or so they thought. Its windows rattled in the wind, framing a yard ringed by ancient oaks and battlefields, their soil heavy with forgotten blood. The air inside was thick, scented with dust, and something sweeter like faded roses left to rot. Why do some homes feel like they remember? Emily felt it first, unpacking her clothes in a room with a heavy oak cabinet. The homeowner's mother, Margaret, had loved this house, her presence lingering in every corner. "Tell the spirits to stop politely," the homeowner had said, half joking. But Sarah and Emily had heard noises before. Footsteps, shadows in the hall. Now settled in the house, seemed to watch its silence, a held breath. What stirs when grief meets grief? That first night, Emily couldn't sleep, video chatting her boyfriend Threes. The house groaned, not the settling of wood, but a low hum, like a voice trapped in the walls. Why did the air feel like it listened? The cabinet, hard to close, was clamped shut each morning, yet Emily returned to find its doors wide, her sweater flung on the floor. Sarah, arriving minutes earlier, swore it was closed. Something moved in those 20 minutes. Emily's heart raced her skin, prickling as if eyes traced her every step. Can an object hold a spirit's will? Late nights. Emily passed the glass front door, glimpsing figures in the yard. Tall, formless, pacing threes. She froze, breath shallow, but they vanished when she blinked. Threes. Margaret's dog. Lady was loved fiercely, her name called in a distinct, lilting tone. 3. One afternoon, Emily and her sister Claire, 16, were alone. Threes. Emily, in the kitchen, heard it. Margaret's voice clear, calling. "Lady!" Claire in the guest room swore she heard nothing, pointing to Lady asleep on the floors. How does a voice cross from death to life? What touches you when no one's there? The final terror came during a dinner, the house full. Sarah, Emily, Claire, the homeowners. Emily's boyfriend. Emily went to the kitchen for a drink. Claire close behind, standing at the counter. Emily felt it. A touch on her shoulder, firm yet cold, not human. "What?" she snapped, turning, expecting Claire. But Claire was just entering 10 feet away. Fuzz, nothing stood behind her. Emily's scream brought everyone running. The homeowner paled. "No one's been touched before," she said, "except my daughter. Years ago. Why did the spirit choose Emily? What binds the dead to the living?" Sarah learned the house's history. Margaret's father died in the living room, her mother in hospice. The land scarred by Civil War battles. Was it Margaret, her father, or something older? Emily never entered the kitchen alone again. The touch a scar on her soul. Some houses don't let go. Years later, Emily dreams of the cabinet opening, a hand reaching out, calling her back to a home that still mourns. The eyes in the woods. What if the trees themselves urged you to step into their embrace? Have you ever seen a path that seemed to beckon you? On a rural farm, a woman faced eyes that commanded her to the woods. Can a glance from the dark rewrite your will? Follow me now into the gaze of those haunted trees. The farm sprawled under a vast sky, its fields fringed by dense woods that whispered of secrets. Laura, 32, lived in a modest house, her husband Mark nearby, and his grandparents' home threes. The woods teemed with life. Deer foxes, a family of groundhogs by the shed. Laura loved the rhythm of it, her three-legged Chihuahua tripod, and the neighbor's fat beagle buster roaming freely. But that 4th of July weekend, as they dog-sat Mark's mother's anxious hound Rex, the woods turned hungry. Why do familiar places grow strange under moonlight? The night was warm. Fireflies flickering distant fireworks. A faint hum. Laura stepped out of the bathroom, towel in hand, when Rex erupted. Whining, howling, stomping, his eyes fixed on the door. Something demanded his attention. Laura, used to his quirks, moved to let him out. But he froze, staring at her. Then the door, as if pleading. Tripod joined her small body, rigid, mirroring Rex's gaze. Why did their unity feel like a warning? What calls a soul to the edge of reason? Laura opened the wooden door, peering through the screen. Buster sat on the porch, uncharacteristically still. No panting, no snorting. He looked at her, then nodded toward the woods, deliberate like a guide. The air felt alive, pulling her forward. Laura stepped out, heart thudding, scanning the trees. Her eyes locked on a gap, a perfect tunnel through the pines, revealing a pair of white eyes, blinking, watching threes. How does a stare feel like a command? Can the mind fight what the body craves? Laura's thoughts blurred, a voice in her head, chanting, "Go to the woods." Grass seemed to part, a path laid for her, inviting her to the eyes. She stepped forward, entranced her will. Frayings. Mark's voice broke the spell. "What are you doing?" Laura blinked, dazed, murmuring, "I'm just looking, sir." Why did her lips lie? Mark guided her inside eyes, wide. "You were saying you need to go to the woods," he said, voice tight. Laura had no memory of speaking, only the pull, the eyes. What watches from beyond the trees? Mark later found old stories of the land. Settlers vanished. Their bodies never found, locals whispering of a presence that lures threes. Was it the woods or something within? Laura banned solo nighttime outings, but the eyes haunt her dreams, blinking, calling her to a path she never took. Some gazes never blink. The farm, once her haven, now feels like a stage watched by something that knows her name. The voice in the loft. Have you ever heard a voice that wasn't there? What if your home spoke in a stranger's tongue, casual yet chilling? In a rural log home, a couple faced a presence that lingered below. Does a house's heart beat with its own secrets? Step with me now. Into the echo of that sleepless night, the log home stood alone, its wooden walls a fortress against the rural night. Rachel, 28, and her husband Tom, 30, had chosen it for its quiet, far from neighbors' reach. The loft bedroom open to the house below was their sanctuary, its half-log stairs offering a clear view to the basement. That night, with their son at his grandparents', they indulged in a rare horror movie. The screen's glow casting shadows on the beams, but boredom won, and by 11:30, they switched it off, plunging the house into darkness. Why does silence feel heavier after fear? Rachel lay still, the mattress creaking under her. The German shepherd, Luna, slept at the stairs' top. Her snores, a soft rhythm. Then it came, a man's voice low, casual, like a country boy chatting with a friend. It drifted from the basement, clear, yet distant words, indistinct, but human. How does a voice pierce a locked home? Rachel tensed, assuming it was her mind, a trick of sleep. She'd had auditory hallucinations before, but this felt real, grounded. What stirs when the world should sleep? 10 seconds later, sounds followed, jostling gentle thuds, as if someone moved in the basement threes. Tom whispered, "Did you hear that?" Rachel nodded, heart poundings. "A man talking," she said, "threes." Tom leapt up, pulling on his robe, grabbing the shotgun. Rachel clutched her phone, ready to dial 911-threes. Why did Luna sleep through the intrusion? Tom checked the basement. Windows locked, alarms intact. Sliding door secure. The house was empty. Yet the voice lingered in their minds. Can a home hold a memory that isn't yours? Tom returned, shaken but silent. He slept. But Rachel couldn't staying awake with a lamp on, senses sharp threes. The box fan squealed, a high bat-like sound never heard before. Threes. What speaks when no one listens? Rachel later learned the land was once a crossroads for drifters. Some never seen again, threes. Was the voice a lost soul, or the house itself replaying a forgotten moment? Some homes never forget their guests. Rachel avoids the basement now. The voice a whisper in her dreams. Casual, yet eternal. The chanting at Diamond Fork. Have you ever felt time slip backward under your feet? What if the ground pulsed with the cries of the lost? In Utah's Diamond Fork Canyon, a couple heard chants from a battle long dead. Can the earth sing of its own wounds? Follow me now. Into the echoes of that haunted campsite. Diamond Fork. Canyon stretched vast, its cliffs guarding secrets older than memory. Claire, 25, and her partner Ethan, 27, drove from Colorado to Idaho, a 15-hour trek broken by a night in Utah. Claire, once a Utah resident, yearned to show Ethan the natural hot springs, a 45-minute hike from the parking lot. But the gate was locked, a sign warning of fines and closure. A body found in the springs. The news whispered, why does a place of healing turn to death? What draws the weary to the wild's edge? Disappointed, they drove down the canyon seeking a campsite. The established sites were closed or taken, so they chose Road 338, a dirt path winding past a creeks. The road ended at a strange boulder fenced in wood, its inscription chilling. Diamond Battle, June 20th, 1866. Threes. Claire's skin prickled, a mix of awe and unease. Why did the stone feel like it spoke? They backtracked, pitching their tent by the creek, its rush loud, yet soothing. Can a night hide what the day reveals? Darkness fell fast, the fire's glow their only light. Claire felt watched, not by eyes, but by the land itself, its history pressing against her. She retreated to the tent, leaving Ethan by the fire. Snug in her sleeping bag, she drifted the creek's roar, fading. Then it came, soft, chanting rhythmic drums, faint but undeniables. How does sound cross centuries? Her eyes snapped open, straining over the water's rush. The ground rumbled as if horses thundered nearby. What binds the living to the dead song? Claire froze, fear warring with denial. Speaking it aloud felt like summoning the chants. Was it real or her mind? She blacked out, waking to a peace she couldn't explain, as if the land had cradled her thigh. Morning came and they packed, leaving no trace. In cell service, Claire researched the boulder. Utes and Mormon militia clashed there, blood soaking the earth. Did the land replay its pain? Ethan confessed hearing the same. Chants, drums, hooves, before a similar blackout. What guards the graves we cannot see? Claire believes they were watched, not hunted by spirits protecting their sacred ground. Some battles never end. She dreams of the creek, its waters singing, calling her to pay respects at the Diamond Battle Memorial, where the earth still mourns. The Faceless Boy by the creek. Have you ever seen a face that wasn't there? What if a child's form hid a void where life should be? By a quiet creek, two boys met a figure with no features. Can innocence mask a terror that knows your name? Walk with me now, into the shadow of that faceless gaze. The neighborhood hummed with summer, its streets alive with kids and bikes. Tommy, 12, and his friend Ben, 13, wandered in the afternoon heat, their sneakers scuffing the pavement. They reached a short bridge over a shallow creek, its waters glinting under the sun. Leaning over the rail, they spotted a boy below, crouched on a flat stone, poking the water with a stick. He wore a red hoodie, hood-up blue jeans, and white high tops. Pristine, as if untouched by dirt. Why did his cleanliness feel wrong? What draws the eye to the unnatural? Tommy nudged Ben, grinning, suggesting they drop a rock to splash the boy who seemed unaware of them. Why did the creek feel too still? Before they acted, the boy moved, not standing, but turning his head slow, deliberate, locking eyes with them. His face was a blank, pure white, smooth as an egg. No eyes, no mouth, only a void. How does nothing stare so fiercely? Terror surged, instant primal. Tommy and Ben ran legs, burning 2 blocks before collapsing breathless. The faceless gaze branded in their minds. Can fear silence even the bold? They never spoke of it. The memory too raw, too unreal. A year later, Tommy rode bikes with other friends when Jake, 14, sprinted up pale, bumbling about a boy by the river. Red hoodie, clean shoes, no face poking the waters. Why did the same terror find another? Tommy froze, meeting Jake's eyes. Super clean? He asked. Jake nodded, silent, the truth, a shared scar. What walks the same path year after year? What haunts beyond the veil of childhood? Tommy later learned the creek was once a burial ground, its stones hiding bones of settlers' children lost to fever threes. Was the boy one of them, or something older? He avoids the bridge now, but in dreams the faceless boy turns his blankness a mirror, reflecting a fear Tommy can't name. Threes. Some faces don't need features to see you. The knocking in the storm. Picture a rain that drowns all sound, but 1, 3s. What if a knock at your door carried no human weight? In a secluded woodland home, a grandson faced a presence in the tempest. When the storm hides the truth, who stands outside? Step into the deluge now and face the shadow at the threshold. The house crouched in a clearing, its weathered boards battered by a relentless storm. Rain lashed the windows, wind howling through the pines that encircled the property, half a mile from any neighbor. Michael, 22, stayed with his grandmother, Ellen, whose arthritis bound her to her beds. The old house groaned its creaks, blending with the gale. But the isolation was a comfort. Until that night, when the power died, plunging them into darkness. Why does a storm feel like it knows your name? Michael lit candles, their flickering glow casting jagged shadows. Ellen slept unaware as the rain's roar muffled the world. Fuss. At 1 a.m, a sound cut through. 3 sharp knocks at the front door, deliberate heavies. Fuss. How does a knock pierce a tempest? Michael froze, heart thuddings. No one could be out in this deluge. Not here. Not nows. He glanced at their dog. Max, cowering in the corner, tail tucked, eyes fixed on the door. Can a door hold back what seeks to enter? The knocking stopped as Michael approached his footsteps, slow, deliberate. He peered through the peephole. Nothing but rain and swaying pines. Why did the air feel like it waited? Max whimpered, refusing to move us. Michael climbed the stairs to the upper window, seeking a clearer views. In the lightning's flash, he saw a shadow. Tall, formless, standing on the porch. Was it human, or the storm's illusion? What leaves a mark when no one's there? Michael didn't open the door, retreating to Ellen's side, the knocks echoing in his mind. Morning brought a chilling truth. Muddy footprints circled the porch, deep, uneven, as if paced by something heavy. The door handle was broken, wrenched from its socket metal, glinting in the mud. How does absence leave such scars? Michael later learned the land was once a smuggler's hideout. Their fates unknown, their presence lingering. Some doors invite more than the living 3s. He avoids the porch now. But in storms, the knocks return a rhythm that knows his fear. The faceless child on the bridge. Imagine a reflection that shows no face 3s. What if a child's form was a mask for the void? By a quiet creek in the 80s, 2 boys met a figure that saw without eyes. When innocence hides terror, what gazes back? Cross the bridge with me now, into the blank stare of that summer day. The summer of 1983 buzzed with life, the neighborhood alive with kids chasing Freedom 3s. Danny, 11, and his best friend Luke, 12, wandered through the heat, their sneakers crunching gravel 3s. They reached a short bridge spanning a shallow creek, its waters shimmering under the noon sun. Below, a boy crouched on a flat stone, poking the water with a stick. His red hood, blue jeans, and white high tops were impossibly clean, untouched by the creek's mud. Why does perfection feel like a lie? Can a moment freeze the soul before it breaks? Danny nudged Luke, suggesting they splash the boy with a rock, a prank born of boredom. Why did the creek's ripple feel wrong? Before they could act, the boy turned, not rising but twisting his head, slow, precise, locking onto them. His face was a void, pure white, smooth as porcelain. No eyes, no mouth, only absence. 3. How does nothing burn with such intent? Fear surged raw electric. Danny and Luke ran legs, pumping 3 blocks to safety. Collapsing, the faceless stare seared into their minds. What haunts the same path twice? They swore silence, the memory too alien to share. A year later, Danny biked with friends when another boy, Sam, 13, sprinted up breathless, describing a red-hooded figure by the river. No face, clean shoes poking the water. Why does terror choose new eyes? Danny met Sam's gaze. Too clean? He asked. Sam nodded, mute their shared dread. A bond, what lingers where children play? Can the past claim what it never lost? Danny learned the creek was once a burial ground, its banks holding bones of children lost to diseases. Was the boy their echo, or something older? He avoids the bridge, but in dreams, the faceless child turns its blankness, a mirror reflecting a fear that grows with him. Some gazes don't need faces to see. The letters in the bedroom, When a letter knows your deepest fears, who penned it? What if your sanctuary held a stranger's malice? In a crowded house, two girls found threats left by an unseen hand. Could a note carry a soul's intent to harm? Enter the room with me now, where words become weapons. The house in the nicer part of a rough neighborhood thrummed with teenage chaos. Charlotte had 14 and her friend Mia. 14 lived with Charlotte's mother, Mercy, and brother Dallas, 16. The place was a revolving door for Dallas's friends' kids with broken homes like Mia's. A lost key had sparked oddities, missing food, misplaced items. But nothing prepared them for the day the house turned Predator 3s. Why does a home feel like it plots? Can safety unravel in a single glance? After school, Charlotte and Mia dropped their bags in Charlotte's room, expecting the usual clutter 3s. On their pillows lay envelopes, one each pristine, unaddressed 3s. Why did the air taste of dread? Charlotte giggled, expecting Dallas's teasing, notes calling them smelly or dumb 3s. Mia's envelope bore a crude drawing, a figure in pain. Its meaning unclear. They tore them open, laughter fading. Charlotte's letter praised her beauty, the handwriting jagged unfamiliars. Mia's was a blade. Promises of death, violation, each word a wound. How does ink carry such venom? What invades when no one watches? Charlotte clutched her letter, refusing to share Mia's horror. They called Mercy, who summoned the police 3s. Dallas stormed in, face dark, inspecting the room. The beds, the windows, 3s. Why did the walls feel like they listened? He gathered his friends, interrogating them behind closed doors, showing the letters, seeking recognition. They questioned neighbors, but no answers came. Thus, the police shrugged. Without evidence, the case was cold. What leaves a threat without a trace? Can fear rewrite a home's heart? Charlotte and Mia barely slept, eyes on the door. Clothes appeared on the neighbor's line. Dallas's Charlotte's, suggesting the lost key had fallen into wrong hands. Was it a neighbor or something else? They changed the locks and the intrusion stopped, but the letters lingered, their words a scar. Mia learned the neighborhood once housed a recluse, vanished his journals full of violent fantasies. Did his will linger in the walls? Charlotte's room, once a haven, became a place of locked doors. The letters echo, a whisper in their dreams. The haunted house of Minnesota. Imagine a house where shadows wear faces. What if every room held a memory not your own? In a Minnesota home, a girl lived among spirits that danced and touched. When the dead claim a home, who truly owns it? Step through the door with me now, into a house alive with the past. The Minnesota house stood apart, its clapboard walls, a canvas for the uncanny. Its Lily, 8, and her brother Sam, 3, visited their father every other weekend after their parents' divorce. The house was a museum of the strange. Lights flickered. Radios blared. Unplugged doors rattled without wind. Lily felt it from her first step inside, a pulse in the air, as if the house breathed. Why does a home feel like it chooses its guests? Can the ordinary hide the extraordinary? Shadows moved with purpose. A man in a trench coat, a fisherman, a figure dancing down the hall. Two giggling girls haunted the basement, their laughter echoing when no children were home. What lives where no one should? Lily's father dismissed it as old pipes, but the touches in the shower, light caressing unseen, made her skin crawl. Her uncle once woke to girls singing below, only to find the house empty. How does absence sing so clearly? What wakes when the world sleeps? One Saturday morning, Lily and Sam watched cartoons, the house quiet but watchful. 3 knocks sounded on the wall behind sharp, deliberate. Why did the sound feel like a summons? They froze, eyes meeting fear, shared duh. Lily, trying to be brave, said, "It's nothing." But her heart raced. Diao. Minutes later, knocks came from the kitchen, softer on the counter. What moves through walls unseen? They peered, seeing nothing. The house's pulse quickening. Can a child outrun the unseen? The knock circled. Dining room, then the coffee table. Inches away. Lily flipped over the couch, sprinting to her father's room. Sam, close behind. Why did the air chase them? They crept onto the floor, waking their sister Emma, 6, whispering the terror. As they spoke, a shadow paced under the bedroom door, slow, deliberate back-and-forth threes. What waits just beyond reach? Lily's memory blurs here, fear swallowing the rest. But the house never let go. What binds the living to a house's will? Lily learned the land was once a way station, its guests vanishing into history. Were the spirits lost or guardians? She avoids the house, but in dreams the knocks return. The shadow paces, calling her back to a home that never forgets. The stranger at the door. When a stranger knows your home, what do they seek? What if your door opened to a lie clad in human skin? In a quiet apartment, a family faced an intruder with no truths. Could a glance carry a predator's intent? Open the door with me now, into the shadow of that fleeting threat. The apartment was a sanctuary, its walls shielding Alex, 24, his wife, Sarah, 22, and their daughter, Lily, Berthrisos. That night, Alex worked out in the spare room, prepping for his night shift, while Sarah and Lily watched TV in the living rooms. The building was secure, the door locked, the peephole, a guardian. But at 8 p.m, Sarah's shout shattered the calm. "Someone's trying to get in!" Why does safety betray so swiftly? Can a moment shift a home's heart? Alex rushed to the peephole, expecting his brother, but saw a stranger. Shaggy hair, dilated, black, hoodie, hands clutching something in his pockets. What hides in a familiar form? Alex's gut screamed danger. Froze. He opened the door a crack, ready to confront, but the man's foot shot forward, trying to block it. Why did his haste feel like a hunt? Alex slammed the door, locking it, heart pounding. What lingers when the threat flees? The man vanished, no trace in the hall 3s. Alex grabbed his gun, checking the building, but the stranger was gone, as if swallowed by the night. How does presence vanish so completely? Sarah, shaken, refused to let Alex leave for work. They called the police, but no answers came. Alex learned the building sat on old rail tracks, once a haunt for drifters, some never seen again. Was the man flesh or echo? Can a home reclaim its peace? The family moved soon after, the apartment's walls no longer theirs. Some threats don't need to enter to scar 3s. In dreams, Alex sees the stranger's eyes dilated, knowing waiting for a door left ajar 3s. Some strangers never truly leave. The motel that knew. When a stranger's instinct saves you, what did they see? Picture a place where the air tastes of warnings unspoken to. In a Santa Barbara motel, a family escaped a fate they never saw. Could a building hold a secret that screams to the wary? Check in with me now. Into the night that whispered death, the coastal highway hummed under the stars, the rented car's headlights slicing through the California night. The Thompson family, Mark, 40, his wife Julia, 38, and their daughters Sophie, 16, and Emma, 14, drove toward Long Beach, stopping in Santa Barbara for rest. The motels lined the strip, their neon signs flickering, but the Thompsons sought a clean one, free of grime and shadows. Why does a haven feel like a trap? They pulled into a modest motel, its lot half empty. The reception's glow a faint promise of sleep. Mark and Julia stepped inside, leaving Sophie and Emma in the car. iPods blaring music. What makes a mother's gaze turn to steel? Sophie glanced up, pausing her song, nudging Emma. Through the reception's glass, Julia stood rigid, arms crossed, her usual warmth replaced by a hyper-vigilant stare, scanning the room like a sentinel. Why did the lobby feel like a stage? Mark haggled with the manager, oblivious, but Julia's unease was a beacon, her eyes darting to corners, as if the walls whispered threats. Can a feeling outrun reason? Back in the car, Mark argued for the motel. Cheap, the last room available. Julia's voice cut through sharp, final. We're not staying here. I feel it. What stirs a primal dread in a mother's heart? Mark, frustrated, backed out the tires, crunching gravel. Sophie and Emma exchanged glances, silent, sensing the weight of Julia's fear. They found another motel cleaner, brighter, and bunkered down. The incident fading into the night's rhythm. Morning brought a news report that froze them threes. What if fate hinges on a single choice? The TV blared. A shooting at the first motel 15 minutes after they left Threes. A couple took the last room, and a man behind them, enraged, shot them dead. How does a place know death before it strikes? Julia stood wide-eyed, whispering, I told you, Threes. Sophie later learned the motel sat on land, once used for clandestine deals, its history stained with blood. Go. Was it the land or Julia's instinct that spoke? The family never returned to Santa Barbara. But Sophie dreams of the motel's lobby, its walls pulsing. Julia's eyes locking onto hers, warning of a danger that lingers. Some places choose who survives. The highway, once a path to adventure, now feels like a thread between life and the void. It's motels hiding truths. Only the wary hear. The tractor man's lollies. Imagine a gift that tastes of betrayals, when a smile hides a blade who sees it first. In a New South Wales caravan park, a child trusted a man with deadly secrets. Could a sweet carry the weight of death? Ride with me now, into the shadow of that tractor's rumble. The caravan park in New South Wales buzzed with holiday joy, its grassy lots filled with kids biking and laughing. Emily 6 spent every school break here, her family's caravan a second home. Threes, the park was a wonderland, where she learned to ride a bike, shared her first kiss. But beneath its warmth lurked a shadow. Why does innocence draw the darkest eyes? The park owner's son, Nathan 25, drove a tractor collecting rubbish and fixing odds and ends. His grin a fixture of the summer days. What makes a child trust a stranger's hand? Emily loved the tractor's rumble, its red bulk, a thrill. Nathan often stopped where she played, offering rides. How does kindness mask intent? She'd climb aboard, giggling the wind in her hair, unaware of the eyes watching from the caravans. Her parents, lulled by the era's freedom, let her roam until streetlights glowed threes. But one day, Nathan dropped her off, and her father, Tom, stormed out, yanking her from the tractor. His face a storm of rage. Why did silence speak louder than words? Don't talk to him, Tom said. Voice low, idle Threes. Emily protested. Nathan was nice, gave her lollies, hugs, even sandwiches. What poisons hide in sweetness? Tom's refusal to explain left her confused. But she obeyed, telling Nathan, Dad says I can't talk to you, Sapros. His smirk chilled her. His reply a casual, Oh yeah? Why's that? Why did his ease feel like a threat? Emily avoided him. Her joy dimmed the tractor's rumble now. a warning. Years passed the park, a fading memory, until a news report stopped Emily's heart. Can the past reach out to claim you? Nathan's face flashed on the screen, tied to a double murder threes. He'd killed with pills he called lollies, lacing them with death. Threes. How does a child escape a killer's grasp? Tom, watching, turned to Emily. Threes. I knew he was bad news, he said, recounting Nathan's rides, the lollies, the unease he'd felt. Emily's blood ran cold, realizing her father's instinct had saved her. The park was built on land once owned by a recluse, his own crimes buried in time. Was Nathan his echo or something darker? Emily never returned, but in dreams the tractor rumbles. Nathan's smirk, offering a lolly that burns her tongue. A taste of death she never knew she dodged. Some sweets carry a grave's weight. The men in black at Pier 39. What if a crowd hid hunters in plain sight? Picture a selfie that steals more than your smile. Threes. In San Francisco's Pier 39, a woman crossed paths with men who weren't theirs. When a stranger's touch feels like a trap, what do they want? Walk the pier with me now, into the gaze of those gloved hands. Fisherman's Wharf pulsed with life, its crowds a kaleidoscope of tourists and vendors. Lily's 23 wove through the chaos, her camera slung around her neck, capturing the bay's shimmer. The entrance to Pier 39 loomed a gateway to shops and seals, but the air shifted as she approached, heavy, like a storm, brewing in sunlight. Why does a place turn cold amidst warmth? Can a glance carry a predator's weight? A man stepped from the crowd, dressed in black. Jacket pants, boots, and latex gloves, an oddity in the summer heat. What hides behind such precision? He walked toward Lily, his pace deliberate, eyes locked on hers. Before she could react, another man identically dressed appeared to her side. Their movements synchronized, cornering her. Threes. Why did their steps feel like a dance? Lily's heart raced, instinct screaming. She turned, slipping into the crowd, their gloved hands fading behind her. A week later, Lily returned, now with friends, Mia and Claire, their laughter a shield. What returns when you think it's gone? At Pier 39, they spotted familiar faces from their hostel, waving joyful. Threes. As they greeted, a man appeared, black-clad, gloved, one of the pair from before. Threes. He slung an arm around Lily and Mia, snapping a selfie, his phone angled to capture only their faces. Not his? How does a photo steal your soul? Lily covered her face, but Mia's was caught clear, exposed. The man vanished, the crowd swallowing him. Lily's blood ran cold, the memory of the first encounter surging. Was it chance or a hunt? She insisted on an Uber back to the hostel, refusing to walk, her gut screaming of danger. Why did the pier feel like a net? Mia and Claire dismissed her fear, but Lily learned the pier was once a smuggling hub, its docks hiding vanishings never solved. Threes. Were the men traffickers or something older? She never returned to Pier 13, but in dreams, the gloved man's phone flashes her face, trapped in its screen. His faceless smile, whispering her names. Some traps don't need chains to bind. The pier, once a joy, now feels like a stage watched by eyes that never blink. The whistling in the dark. Could a sound reshape your courage? When the night hums with a stranger's tune, do you listen? In a Canadian logging camp, a hunter heard a whistle that wasn't human. Threes. What calls from the trees when no one's there? Venture into the wilderness with me now, into the echo of that lone note. The logging camp in northern British Columbia lay silent, its machines dormant under a blanket of fresh snow. James, 34, an avid hunter and mechanic, stayed late repairing a skidder's hydraulic hose in the dark. The camp was empty, his colleagues gone, leaving him alone with the pines and the night's chill. Why does solitude feel like a challenge? The flashlight's beam cut through the frost, his tools clinking, but the air grew heavy as if the forest held its breath. What stirs when you think you're alone? James felt it. A prickle, like eyes boring into his backs. How does absence watch so fiercely? Each trip to the service truck, he scanned the tree line 25 meters away, expecting glowing eyes. Nothing. Fools. He dove under the skidder legs, exposed, vulnerable, the hose a stubborn foe. The feeling intensified. Hair standing a pulse in the darks. Why did the snow seem to listen? A two-tone whistle faint drifted from the trees like wind through bones. Can a sound carry a will? James slid out flashlight, sweeping the pines. No tracks, no eyes, only silence. What hides in the still? He resumed loosening the hose, the whistle returning louder, closer, directly behind. He whipped out wrench, raised yelling, "Where are you?" The forest swallowed his voice, no answer, no sound, the snow untouched. How does nothing sing so clearly? Morning brought more snow, and James hiked the tree line with a shotgun, finding no tracks, no perches, no sign. Was it a bird or the land itself? Years later, hunting with his friend Tom James, drove a sensor-laden Ford truck down the same road. What returns when you forget? The radio screeched, alien noises erupting, the dashboard glitchings. At the whistle block, James joked, but the air tightened. The music turned to static, then a figure appeared in the headlights. Tall, skeletal, a deer. Skull face, black flesh around white bones. How does a shadow stand so bold? Tom swerved the truck, hitting the ditch, then out of the road. The figure gone. James and Tom stared breathless. "A skeleton," Tom whispered. "What hunts in the guise of death?" They drove on, no other vehicles in sight. The figure's stare, lingerings. Tom's mother texted the truck's sensors, reporting a near accident. Was it a Wendigo or the forest's wrath? James learned the area was sacred, its spirits guarding against intruders. Some lands never forgive. He avoids that road. But in dreams, the whistle calls the skull. Face watches, beckoning him back to a wilderness that knows his name. The car. Car in the alley. Picture a night where your home betrays you, when headlights pierce your sanctuary. What do they seek? In a quiet duplex, a woman faced strangers in her private alley. Could a car's hum carry a thief's intent? Stand on the porch with me now, into the glow of those uninvited beams. The duplex sat in a quiet corner, its fenced yard a fortress for Rachel, 29, and her roommate Lisa. A private alley marked with no trespassing signs led to Rachel's parking spot, a haven for her beat-up sedan. Why does a home feel fragile at midnight? That night, Rachel played video games in her room, her dog Bella on the couch, the clock nearing 1:03. Bella's sudden barking shattered the calm, sharp, insistent aimed at the front windows. What wakes a guardian in the dark? Can a sound shift the air's weight? Rachel, slightly high, shrugged it off. Squirrels whine, nothing new. She opened the blinds, expecting emptiness, but headlights bobbed in the alley. A car idling, figures moving with flashlights. Why did their light feel like a probe? Rachel's heart quickened, her stoned bravado kicking in. She leashed Bella, who growled and stepped outside, pajama-clad, unarmed, fearless in her haze. How does courage mask fear? The gate was locked. Bella's barks echoing. What invades when no one should? Rachel saw them. A well-dressed woman in heels, a man in a sleek sports car, newer than anything in her neighborhood. This is private property, Rachel called threes, the woman startled. Stammering, "Our car broke down, threes." The man entered the car. They spoke, then drove off, pulling into a public street behind a neighbor's car. Why did their ease feel like a lie? Rachel sat on her porch, watching, ensuring they didn't return. The car never popped its hood, its engine purring fine. What hunts in the guise of need? Rachel learned the alley was once a smuggler's route, its shadows hiding thieves who vanished. Were they robbers or echoes of the past? She installed cameras, but in dreams, the headlights returned the woman's heels, clicking the man's flashlight, sweeping, searching for a home that isn't hers. Some intruders don't need to steal to haunt threes. The alley, once her refuge, now feels like a path to something waiting. The voices on the farm. When the night sings your name, do you answer? Picture a silence broken by voices that shouldn't be threes. On a South Carolina farm, a smoker faced whispers from the dark. Could the wind carry the dead secrets? Sit on the porch with me now, into the chorus of the unseen. The farm sprawled across South Carolina's heart, its fields kissed by moonlight, its edges swallowed by dense woods. Clara, 35, lived alone in a weathered farmhouse, her nights punctuated by cigarette breaks on the porch. Twas. The air was thick with cricket song and the scent of damp earth, a comfort in her solitude. Why does the familiar turn stranger at midnight? A small cemetery, 4 tombstones, 2 adults, 2 children, stood at the yard's end, their weathered stones silent sentinels of a forgotten family. Clara's routine was simple. Step outside, light a cigarette, let the night wash over her. What stirs when the world should sleep? A month ago, the woods began to speak. Faint voices, indistinct like conversations carried on the wind. How does a whisper know your heart? She dismissed them as imagination, her mind playing tricks, but the voices grew clearer, closer, their tones familiar yet impossibles. One night, she heard her sister who lived in London laughing softly, another her childhood friend from Oregon. His drawl unmistakable. Why did the dead mimic the living? Can a sound reshape your courage? Last night, Clara sat, cigarette glowing, when the voices sharpened steps, crunching leaves to her right. What walks without form? Her pulse quickened, the air heavy as if the night pressed against her. She stood, pulling her pocket knife, moving to the porch's edge. The steps stopped, then fled 2 feet, sprinting into the woods. How does absence run so fast? Clara retreated inside, heart pounding, the cigarette's ash falling like snow. Curiosity overpowered fears. What calls when no one's there? Video chatting her girlfriend Mia. Clara returned to the porch, listening. A child's song drifted from the woods, high and sweet, morphing into an adult's laugh. Then a wail that moved slow just out of sight. Why did the sound feel alive? Mia heard nothing. The call's clarity lost to distance, but Clara's blood ran cold. Was it the cemetery's children, or something older? She learned the land was once a meeting ground for a cult, their rituals buried in time, their voices lingering. Clara avoids the porch at night, but the voices haunt her dreams now, chanting her name. The cemetery's stones glowing faintly. Some lands never let their secrets die. The farm, once her refuge, feels like a stage, watched by eyes that know her past. Calling her to join the chorus in the woods, the child who spoke to John. Could a toy hold a soul's cry? When a child's friend isn't imaginary, what do they want? In a family home, a boy's playmate brought spirits to life. Picture a fire that burns in the walls, calling for you threes. Enter the playroom with me now, into the echo of John's voice. The suburban house was a haven for the Carter family. Lila, 39, her husband Ben, 40, and their children Sophie, 8, and Bobby, 5. Through Bobby's health was fragile. His surgeries a constant shadow, but his spirit was bright. His playroom, a kingdom of toys. Why does a child's joy feel so fragile? A storage room under the stairs next to the playroom was a clutter of boxes. Its door always locked. What hides in the spaces we ignore? Bobby called it John's house, claiming John and his mother lived there, knocking to ask, "Can John play?" What makes a child see beyond the veil? Bobby's night terrors were brutal. Screams, thrashing, waking with no memory. How does a dream forget itself? Lila dismissed it as his illness, but Bobby's toy fire truck began to blare its siren at night lights flashing, even when switched off. Why did the house feel awake? Clocks reset to 2:15 at the ritual. Lila couldn't explain. Bobby insisted on setting a plate for John at dinner, buckling an empty seat in the car, screaming if ignored. What binds a boy to a ghost? Sophie's skeptical humored him, but the house grew restless. Can a home harbor its own grief? Her baby dolls wailed without batteries buried in the toy boxes. A motion sensor, Big Bird plush, sang unprompted even when off threes. Why did the toys speak when no one touched them? Lila's unease grew, but Bobby's words chilled her most. John says we can't be friends anymore. I have bones and he doesn't. What speaks through a child's lips? That night, Sophie woke to a woman's voice at her bedside, sharp, demanding, "Where's John?" She froze, rolling over, but the figure vanished, leaving only dread. Lila called a priest and a medium. What crosses the line between worlds? The medium revealed John and his mother died in a house fire, their ashes tied to the storage room. Was the fire truck John's cry? The priest blessed the house, the medium guiding the spirits to peace. Bobby's terrors stopped, the toys silenced, but Sophie dreams of the woman, her voice echoing, "Where's John?" Some spirits leave scars that don't fade. The house once a home feels like a tomb, its walls holding a fire that still burns for the Carters. The demon in Amanda's house. Imagine a friend who brings darkness to your doors. When a house watches you, whose eyes does it use? In a Christian girl's home, a spirit played pranks that weren't kind threes. Could a loved one's ghost turn predator? Step into the hallway with me now. Into the shadow of Amanda's grandfather. The split-level house was a second home for Emily, 17, a devout Christian who spent weekends with her best friend Amanda, Sixtinus, and Amanda's family, her parents Mark and Lisa and brother Jake, 19, welcomed Emily, their warmth a contrast to her strict upbringings. Why does a haven feel like it lies? The house was ordinary, its rooms filled with laughter, but Emily sensed a shift, a weight in the air, like a secret waiting to be told. What stirs when faith meets doubt? Can a home hide its own heart? Amanda's tears came one day, her voice trembling over the phone. "Someone's in the house," she said, hearing footsteps banging threes. How does a locked door betray? Emily rushed over, finding all doors secure. Threes. She jokingly kicked the door, yelling for serial killers, easing Amanda's fear. Threes. Why did laughter feel hollow? Weeks later, Amanda spoke of the upstairs bathroom newly fixed, where the shower felt watched, lights flickering. What gazes through steam? Lisa, Amanda's mother, confessed the bathroom door once stuck, as if held shut by unseen hands. Emily avoided 2 rooms. The upstairs living room, where a black figure flickered in her peripheral vision, and the downstairs laundry room, cold and dark, despite summer's heat. What lingers where light should be? She read about sound vibrations causing illusions, but the laundry's chill was no trick. Why did the house feel alive? One night alone in Amanda's room, Emily lay on the bed, Amanda showering downstairs. What watches when you're alone? A presence loomed, footsteps creeping as if someone stood at the door, staring. Emily sat up, heart racing. But the doorway was empty, the air heavy with intent. Amanda returned, brushing it off, as her grandfather's ghost, a prankster who liked to mess with people through us. Can a spirit wear a loved one's face? She revealed her mother's plan to sage the house, stopped by a dream where her father claimed it was him. Ugh. Why did the truth feel like a lie? Emily's nightmares began. Chases in darkness, voices whispering a creature crawling on the ceiling, human-headed talent. What dreams through another's will? The nightmares followed her to her boyfriend's house, a sleep paralysis where the creature returned its face. Amanda's behavior shifted. She taunted Emily with her ex stalked her new boyfriend online, her actions venomous. Was it Amanda or something else? Emily cut ties, and the nightmares stopped, as if the house released her. Some spirits cling to the living threes. Emily learned the house was built on a burial site, its spirits restless. Was it the grandfather, or a demon in his guise? She avoids Amanda's street, but in dreams, the laundry room calls its darkness pulsing with a name not hers, the shadow in the parking lot. What if your safety was a lie you told yourself? Picture a scream that freezes the night's heart. In a city parking lot, a woman faced a man who wasn't human. When danger wears a human face, what does it hide? Stand in the shadows with me now. Into the terror of that urban night, the city pulsed with life, its streets a maze of light and shadow. Sophie, 25, lived on the second floor of an apartment building across from a safe injection site where the homeless gathered. Her past, homeless from 8 to 10, raised by an addict, gave her empathy, but safety was her shield. Why does compassion war with fear? The parking lot below, split into guest and resident sections, was her nightly check. Its gates fob-locked a fortress against the chaos. What breaks when the world feels too close? Can a glance ignite a predator's hunger? A year ago, Sophie and her partner Ethan returned late parking in the guest lot 3s. How does a routine become a trap? A man disheveled, paced nearby, struggling, then left. Why did his absence feel like a lure? As Sophie exited, the car key in hand, the man returned, sprinting, leaping onto Ethan's hood, pounding the windshield, ripping at mirrors. What drives a man to such rage? Sophie fumbled the gate key, slamming it shut, as he charged his screams. Vile, promising assault. His gestures crude. Ethan drove off safe, but Sophie froze, heart pounding the man's chants. Pretty lady want a taste? Burning her mind. What lingers when the threat departs? A lighter clicked outside the man trying to burn the wooden fence, failing in the rain. Why did his laugh feel like a curse? Police and fire arrived apprehending him, but he returned his screams, cries, and laughter haunting the building thrice weekly. What binds a tormentor to a place? He trashed cars. His presence a plague until a new fob gate stopped him. That night, Sophie scrolled on her phone, hearing soft sobbing outside. Can sorrow mask a hunter's intent? Peering through the blinds, she saw him, pacing, crying, then jogging, groaning, striking the new fence. Why did his pain feel like a performance? Sophie learned the site was once a hospital, its grounds holding unmarked graves. Was he a man or a spirit's puppet? She dreams of his face morphing into something older, the fence burning his sobs, calling her to join him. Some shadows don't need flesh to hunt. The lot once her gateway feels like a portal watched by eyes that never close. The dogs in the night. When your protectors turn to guides, where do they lead? Could a bark summon more than you see? In a rural home, 2 dogs faced a presence in the dark. Picture a yard that opens to the unknown. Walk to the gate with me now, into the call of those unseen paws. The rural house sat on a quiet plot, its yard ringed by fields and woods. Laura, 30, and her husband Mike lived simply, their German Shepherd, Max, and terrier, Ruby, their guardians. Why does peace feel like a prelude? That night, Laura dog sat her sister's spaniel, Bella, a nervous soul, wary of fireworks. What stirs when the familiar shifts? The air was warm, the distant pop of 4th of July celebrations. A faint hum, the yard dark but alive with fireflies. Can a dog sense what humans ignore? Laura stepped from the bathroom, towel in hand, when Max erupted. Barking, pacing eyes locked on the back door. How does a bark carry such weight? Ruby joined her small frame, rigid, staring in unison. Why did their gaze feel like a command? Laura moved to the door, expecting a skunk, but the dogs froze, heads tilting, urging her outside. What waits beyond the threshold? She opened the door, Bella bolting to the yard, stopping at the gate, barking toward the woods. What calls when no one answers? Laura followed Hart, thudding the night heavy with intent. Why did the woods feel alive? Bella sat staring at a gap in the trees, where 2 glowing eyes blinked, then vanished. How does a glance rewrite your will? Laura froze, the air thick, as if the woods beckoned. What watches from the dark? Mike, sensing her absence, called out, breaking the spell. Why did her steps feel guided? Laura returned, shaken. The dogs now calm, as if their task was done. Laura learned the land was once a Native American trail, its spirits guarding sacred paths. Were the dogs their messengers, or the woods' lure? She dreams of the eyes, the gate opening, Max leading her to a place she can't name. 3. Some guardians lead to the unknown. The yard once her haven feels like a threshold, watched by paws that tread beyond sight. The shadow at the farmhouse. When the night cloaks your home, what steps inside? Picture a door that guards secrets older than time. 3s. In a remote farmhouse, a woman faced a shadow that spoke 3s. Could a stranger's voice belong to the land itself? Stand at the threshold with me now, into the whisper of that rural dark. The farmhouse stood alone, its weathered planks a sentinel in the semi-rural void. Emily, 32, a disabled house-sitter, cared for her friend's German shepherds. Titan and Luna, in a place where houses sat a quarter-mile apart. The night was still, the sky, a tapestry of stars, the air heavy with the scent of hay and penders. Why does isolation feel like a summons? Emily's pistol, always close, was her comfort. A necessity where police response could take an hour. What stirs when the world should rest? In the shower, Emily hummed the water's warmth, a cocoon. When Titan's growl pierced the calm, Luna joining their barks. Relentless. How does a dog's cry carry such weight? She shut off the water, peering out the bathroom window. Nothing but darkness. Stepping into the hall, she saw a shadow cross the bedroom window, lit by the house's exterior lights. Why did the shadow feel alive? Emily whispered for the dogs to hush, and they obeyed. But a man's voice broke the silence, low, commanding, "Come around, 3s." Can a voice summon what isn't there? Emily's heart raced, the words implying another presence. What moves unseen, yet speaks. She gripped her pistol, rushing to the living room, where the door handle turned slow. Deliberate. 3s. "I have a gun," she shouted, her voice steady, despite fear. Footsteps fled, fading into the night. How does absence leave such terror? She called 911. The dispatcher warning her to stay inside until police arrived 20 minutes later. Emily unlocked the cattle gate, pistol in hand, as blue lights approached. The police searched, finding nothing. No tracks, no signs. What hides from the light? Her friends in Mexico checked camera footage, revealing a man on the porch, face obscured by darkness. Why did his presence feel eternal? A neighbor later found a tent in the woods, hinting at a drifter's campus. Emily learned the land was once a smuggler's route, its shadows hiding souls lost to time. Was he a man or the land's echo? She dreams of the handle turning, the voice calling, "Come around." A summons to a place she can't cease. Some shadows don't need flesh to haunt. The ex who wouldn't leave. Could a love turn to venom that never fades? When a threat lingers beyond the grave, who sends it? In a new home, a woman faced an ex who defied distance. Picture a door that opens to a past you fled. Hide in the closet with me now, into the terror of that relentless pursuit. The new apartment was a fresh start for Lily, 18, escaping an abusive ex, James, 26. The building was modest, its second-floor windows overlooking a quiet street far from the rough neighborhood she'd left. Why does freedom feel like a fragile thread? Lily's mother, Sarah, helped her move her support, a shield against James's shadows. What clings when you think you're free? The air smelled of fresh paint. The room's bright, but Lily's heart carried the weight of his threats. Can a voice cross miles to find you? James had demanded an unlocked door. His rages fueled by drugs and alcohol, blaming Lily for his sins. How does love become a cage? When she left, he'd been arrested. A warrant catching him. But freedom was fleeting. From new numbers, his messages poured in. Threats to kill her, her family, relentless despite blocks. Why did his words feel like chains? Lily believed distance, hundreds of miles, no car, would protect her. But a week later, the past knocked. James pounded the door, screaming his friend, a gun owner, beside him echoing his threats. What hunts when it should be gone? Lily alone dropped to the floor, army crawling to her brother's room, hiding in the closet. Why did silence feel louder than screams? Her breath was shallow fear, choking her. The closet's darkness, a fragile shield. How does a predator find what's hidden? She texted Sarah, too terrified to call, fearing James would hear. Police arrived 20 minutes later, arresting James and his friend, the gun. Real their intent, clear. A restraining order followed. But Lily learned the building was built on a site of violent crimes, its history whispering of vengeance. Was James driven or summoned? She dreams of the door splintering James's voice, not his own, calling her back to a past that never died. Some loves don't let go. The apartment, once a haven, feels like a stage, watched by eyes that know her scars, waiting for her to falter. The doorknob in the dark. When a door shakes, what seeks to enter? Could a child's courage outrun the night's grasp? In a haunted apartment, a girl fled a presence without a face. Picture a hallway that stretches into forevers. Run with me now into the terror of that trembling knob. The apartment was a maze of shadows, its long hallway a gauntlet for Mia, 5, and her mother Clara, the 33s. The building was old, its light bulbs burning out faster than Clara could replace them, plunging the halls into glooms. Why does a home feel like it waits? Mia's bedroom lay at the hallway's end, far from Clara's. The distance a nightly challenge. What hides in the spaces between? The air smelled of dust and wax, the walls creaking with age. But Mia, brave for her years, loved her room's bright colors. Can a child's heart defy the dark? One night past her bedtime, Mia drew at her desk, the lamp's glow a small defiance. How does a knock change everything? 3 sharp raps sounded at her door. Steady, deliberate. Why did the sound feel like a demand? Mia, thinking Clara had caught her, apologized, switching off the lamp. The doorknob rattled violent, as if shaken by unseen hands. What moves without a body? Mia's courage faltered, but she marched to the door, flinging it open. Nothing, only the dark hallway stretching endlessly. Fear surged. Raw, primal 3s. What chases when no one's there? Mia ran the hallway, a tunnel, her footsteps echoing the air, thick as if something pursued. Why did the dark feel alive? She reached Clara's room, diving into her mother's arms. Clara waking from a nightmare, her own fears mirrored in Mia's tears. How does a child carry a home's terror? Clara soothed her, but Mia learned the building was once a tenement, its rooms holding tragedies. Children lost their spirits. Restless, was it a ghost or the apartment's will? Mia dreams of the knob rattling the hallway, endless a shadow at her heels, whispering her name, duh. Some doors don't need opening to haunt threes. The apartment once her castle feels like a labyrinth, its walls watching, waiting for her to run again. The nighttime intruder. What if your sanctuary was never yours? When a shadow crosses your window, whose will does it serve? In a rural home, a sitter faced an intruder who vanished. Could a farm hold spirits that guard their own? Watch the window with me now, into the shadow of that fleeting threat. The farmhouse was a haven, its isolation a balm for Sophie. 28 house-sitting for friends. The semi-rural land stretched wide, neighbors distant. The air thick with the scent of clover and earth. Why does solitude feel like a pact? Sophie's pistol was her companion, a necessity, where police were an hour away. What watches when no one should? The German shepherds. Rex and Bella were her guardians, their barks a shield against the night. Can a home betray its keeper? In the shower, Sophie relaxed the water's hum, drowning the world. When Rex's growl erupted, Bella's barks, joining relentless. How does a dog's cry pierce the calm? She stepped out, peering through the bathroom window. Nothing but stars. In the hall, a shadow crossed the bedroom window, lit by exterior lights. Why did the shadow feel deliberate? Sophie hushed the dogs, her pistol drawn, heart pounding as a man's voice whispered, "Come around," suggesting another presence. What moves when no one's there? The door handle turned slow, testing threes. Why did the air feel like it conspired? Sophie shouted, "I have a gun!" Footsteps fled the night, swallowing them. How does absence haunt so fiercely? She called 911, waiting for police who found no tracks, no signs. Camera footage showed a man on the porch, face obscured, vanishing into the dark. What lingers beyond the lens? A neighbor's tent in the woods hinted at a drifter, but Sophie learned the farm was once a ritual ground, its spirits guarding secrets. Was he flesh or phantom? Sophie dreams of the handle turning, the voice calling, a shadow crossing her window, beckoning her to the woods. Some intruders don't need to enter through. The farmhouse, once her refuge, feels like a sentinel, watched by eyes that claim it still. The figure in the woods. When the trees call your name, do you follow? Picture a forest that breathes your fears. In a rural home, a woman faced a figure that wasn't human. Could the woods hold a soul that hunts? Step into the pines with me now. Into the gaze of that silent watcher. The rural home nestled in a clearing, its fields fringed by dense woods. Rachel, 30, lived with her husband Tom. Their life simple. Their German shepherd. Luna, a loyal companion. Why does the wild feel like it knows you? That night, Rachel stepped outside, the air cool, scented with pine and dew. The woods a dark wall under the moon. What stirs when the night is still? Luna paced restless, her eyes fixed on the trees. A low growl rumbling. Can a dog sense what eyes cannot see? Rachel, used to Luna's quirks, assumed a deer, but the dog's hackles rose. Her gaze locked on a gap in the pines. How does a stare shift the night? Rachel followed Luna's line of sight, heart quickening as a figure emerged. Tall humanoid, its form blurred, eyes glinting like embers. Duh. Why did its presence feel like a command? The air thickened, the woods humming, as if urging her forward. What calls from the dark? Could a glance bind your soul? Rachel froze, the figure motionless, its gaze piercing as if it knew her secrets. Why did the night feel alive? Tom's voice broke the spell, calling from the house, and the figure vanished, the hum fading. How does a shadow leave no trace? Rachel retreated, Luna calming, but the encounter lingered a weight in her chest. What watches when you turn away? She learned the woods were once a sacred grove, its spirits guarding against intruders. Was it a guardian or a hunter? Rachel avoids the woods, but in dreams, the figure stands, its ember eyes calling the pines, whispering her names. Some forests never forget their guests. The clearing, once her sanctuary, feels like a stage, watched by a presence that knows her fears, the intruder's footsteps. When your home hums with a stranger's steps, do you follow? Picture a night where every lock betrays you. In a quiet house, a woman faced an intruder who left no resource. Could a shadow claim a home as its own? Walk the halls with me now, into the echo of those unseen feet. The house stood on a quiet street, its walls a haven for Clara. 30, a single woman, carving a life alone. The air was warm, scented with lavender from her garden. The night a soft blanket over the rural town. Why does peace feel like a prelude to chaos? Clara's routine was simple. Lock the doors. Check the windows. Sleep with a phone nearby. What stirs when the world should be still? That night, as she read in bed, the floor creaked, not the house settling, but a deliberate step heavy in the hallway. Can a sound rewrite your safety? Clara froze, heart pounding, the creak repeating closer, as if someone paced outside her door. How does a footstep carry such intent? She grabbed her phone, dialing 911, whispering her fear. The operator urged her to stay put, but the steps grew bolder, circling the living room. Why did the air feel like it watched? Clara crept to the door, peering through the crack. Nothing, only darkness. Yet the steps continued now, near the kitchen. What moves when no one's there? The police arrived, searching every room, finding no signs, no forced entry, no track-throughs. How does absence leave such dread? Clara's neighbor, an old man named Henry, shared a chilling tale. The house was built on a forgotten burial ground, its spirits restless, mimicking the living breeze. Man, was it a ghost or the house itself? Clara installed cameras capturing faint shadows crossing the hall, formless fleetings. What lingers beyond the lens? She moved soon after, but the footsteps followed in her dreams, pacing, circling a rhythm that knows her names. Some homes don't release their guests. The house once her sanctuary feels like a memory, its halls echoing with steps that never cease. Calling her back to a place that claimed her fear, the ma in the mirror. When your reflection blinks first, do you scream? Could a mirror hold a soul not yours? In a new apartment, a woman faced a face that wasn't hers. Picture a glass that traps more than light. Look in the mirror with me, into the gaze of that other self. The apartment was a fresh canvas for Sophie. 22, moving from a cramped dorm to her own space. 3. Its walls gleamed with new paint. The bathroom's large mirror reflecting her excitement. Why does a new beginning feel so fragile? The air smelled of pine cleaner. The city outside a distant hum. But the mirror held a weight, its surface too clear, too deep. What hides in the spaces we see ourselves? Sophie's nights were quiet. Her routine simple. Shower brush, her teeth, avoid the mirror's stare. Can a glance summon what shouldn't be? One night as Sophie brushed her hair, the mirror flickered. Not the light, but her reflection, blinking out of sync. How does a face move without you? She froze, heart racing, staring into her own eyes, which seemed to linger unblinking, a faint smile curling where hers didn't freeze. Why did the glass feel alive? She turned away, the room colder. The air thick as if the mirror watched her back. What reflects when no one looks? The next night it happened again. Her reflection moved, raising a hand she hadn't lifted its eyes. Darker, older. What claims a mirror's heart? Sophie covered the glass, but shadows danced in her peripheral vision. Footsteps echoing in the empty hall. Why did the apartment feel like it conspired? She called her friend Mia, who laughed it off. But Sophie learned the building was once a sanatorium. Its mirrors used in strange rituals. Was it a patient or mirrors will? Sophie replaced the mirror. But in dreams, the other face returns its smile wider, whispering her name through the glass. Some reflections don't need light to see the good. The apartment once her haven feels like a trap. Its mirrors portals to a self she can't escape, watching her every move. The road that never ends. Picture a road that loops into nowhere. Threes. When the horizon bends, where does it lead? In a rural night, a driver faced a path that defied reason. Could a journey trap your soul in time? Drive with me now. Into the curve of that endless road. The rural road stretched under a moonless sky, its gravel crunching under James's tires. At 35, he knew these back roads. His truck, a trusted companion, on late-night drives home. Why does familiarity breed unease? The air was cool, scented with dust and sage. The radio humming softly, the world asleep. What stirs when the night is too quiet? James turned onto County Road 17, a shortcut expecting home in 20 minutes. Can a path rewrite its own end? The road curved familiar, but the landmarks, old barn crooked oak, repeated looping as if time folded. How does a road know your destination? James's heart quickened. The odometer frozen the radio static. Why did the night feel like it conspired? He drove faster. The curves tightening, the same barn appearing thrice, its silhouette mocking him. What drives when you're not alone? A figure flickered in the headlights, tall, cloaked, faceless, standing at the curve's apex. What stands where no one should? James swerved, heart pounding, but the figure vanished, the road looping again. Why did the air hum with intent? He stopped checking his map, but the road didn't exist, a blank spot on the grid. How does a path erase itself? James learned the area was once a Native American trail, its curves sacred, trapping wanderers who disrespected the land. Was it a spirit or the road's will? He escaped at dawn, the road straightening, but in dreams it curves, the figure waiting, guiding him to a place he can't name. Some roads don't let you leave. The truck, once his freedom, feels like a tether, bound to a path that loops forever, the light that casts no shadow. What if the light you trust hides the dark? Could a glow summon what shouldn't be? In a quiet home, a woman faced a lamp that burned with intent. Picture a radiance that swallows your souls. Turn on the light with me now, into the terror of that uncast shadow. The house was a sanctuary for Lily, 29. Its cozy rooms a refuge from the rural night. The living room's lamp, an antique from her grandmother, cast a warm glow. Its amber light a comfort. Why does a home feel like it chooses you? The air smelled of cedar and wax. The night quiet, the world beyond her windows, asleep. What stirs when the light should soothe? Lily's evenings were simple. Read, sip tea, let the lamp's glow wrap her in peace. Can a light betray its own warmth? One night, as Lily read, the lamp flickered. Not the bulb, but the light itself, pulsing as if breathing threes. How does a glow feel alive? She stared, heart quickening, noticing the lamp cast no shadow. Not hers, not the chair's, only radiance, unnatural, heavy. Why did the room feel like it watched? The air thickened, the lamp's glow colder, its light stretching to the walls, forming shapes. Human fleeting gone when she blinked. What shines when no one looks? The next night it pulsed again, the shapes clearer. Faces, eyes watching threes. What claims a light's heart? Lily unplugged the lamp, but the glow lingered and impossible. Why did the darkness feel safer? She called her brother Tom, who scoffed. But Lily learned the lamp came from a burned-down church. Its congregation lost their spirits tied to its breathers. Was it them or the lamp's will? Lily sold the lamp, but in dreams its glow returns, faces forming, whispering her name through the light. Some lights don't need power to shine us. The house, once her haven, feels like a stage, its corners hiding a radiance that casts no shadow, waiting for her to look again.